the midnight passenger. The rain was relentless, drumming against the windshield as Officer Sam Hayes drove down Route 22. It was past midnight, and the winding road through the dense forest was eerily deserted. Sam's shift had been uneventful so far, a rarity in his line of work, but that would soon change. As he rounded a bend, his headlights illuminated a figure standing by the roadside, drenched and motionless. Sam slowed the patrol car and rolled down the window. "Need some help?" he called out, his voice cutting through the rain. The figure stepped closer, revealing a man in a dark coat with a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. He carried a small suitcase, its leather cracked and worn. "Thank you, officer," the man said, his voice calm but low. "My car broke down a mile back. Could you give me a ride to town?" Sam hesitated. Something about the man felt off, but he couldn't leave him out here in the storm. "Sure, hop in." The man climbed into the passenger seat, placing the suitcase on his lap. The interior of the car seemed colder now, though Sam dismissed it as a trick of the storm. He glanced at his passenger, whose hat still obscured his face. "What's your name?" Sam asked, trying to break the silence. "Call me Mr. Kane," the man replied without elaboration. "Where in town are you headed?" "To the train station. I have an urgent matter to attend to." Sam nodded, but couldn't shake the unease settling in his gut. He decided to make conversation to ease the tension. Not many trains run this late. "They run for those who need them," Kane said cryptically. As they drove, Sam couldn't help but notice the suitcase. It was old but sturdy, the kind of item that had seen many years of use. He couldn't resist asking, "Traveling light?" Kane chuckled softly, though it lacked warmth. "Everything I need is in here." Sam's radio crackled to life, breaking the tension. "All units be advised," the dispatcher said. "We've received reports of a man matching the description of a wanted fugitive last seen near Route 22. Approach with caution." Sam's grip on the wheel tightened. His eyes darted to Kane, who remained unnervingly calm. "Trouble out here?" Kane asked, his tone casual. "Just routine updates," Sam replied, forcing his voice to stay steady. "You mentioned your car broke down. What kind of car is it?" "An old sedan," Kane said. "But it's not worth fixing anymore." Something in Kane's tone sent a shiver down Sam's spine. His training kicked in. He reached for his radio, careful not to alarm his passenger. "Dispatch, this is Officer Hayes. I'm transporting a passenger to town. Can you confirm the description of the suspect?" The radio crackled, but before the dispatcher could reply, Kane placed his hand on Sam's arm, stopping him mid-motion. "No need for that, officer," Kane said softly, yet with an edge of warning. "I assure you I'm just a traveller." Sam's heart raced as the road stretched ahead, dark and endless. Who was this man? And what was in that suitcase? The storm outside seemed to grow louder, as if nature itself shared his unease. Finally, the faint glow of the town's lights appeared in the distance. "The station's just ahead," Sam said, his voice tight. As the car approached the train station, Kane turned to Sam. For the first time, his face was fully visible, pale and unblinking. "Thank you for your kindness," he said. "Few people stop for strangers these days." Kane opened the door and stepped into the rain, the suitcase still clutched tightly. Sam watched as he walked toward the platform and vanished into the shadows. The next morning, Sam couldn't shake the events of the night. Curiosity drove him to the station, where he questioned the attendant. "Did anyone catch a train here late last night?" The attendant frowned. "No trains run after 11 p.m, officer. This station's been closed at night for years." Sam's blood ran cold. He turned back toward the patrol car, his mind racing. On the passenger seat where Kane had sat was a single object, an old, worn chess piece, a black king. The storm had passed, but the questions lingered. Who was Mr. Kane, and what was his urgent matter? Sam wasn't sure he wanted to know. Later that day, Sam visited the mechanic's shop on the edge of town, where vehicles found abandoned on Route 22 were often towed. "You seen an old sedan lately?" he asked the shop owner, a grizzled man named Henry. Henry nodded. Sure did, pulled one in this morning. Funny thing is, it's been sitting there a while, weeks maybe. Don't know how anyone would call it in last night. Sam's pulse quickened. He asked to see the car. The sedan was rusted, its tyres flat and the interior coated in dust. But the back seat caught his attention. On it lay another chess piece, a black pawn, and a note that read, "Checkmate is near." Sam's mind reeled as he tried to piece together the meaning of the night's events. Who was Mr. Kane, and why did he leave this cryptic trail? One thing was clear. This wasn't over. Not yet.